Hello everyone, welcome to the Joget webinar. My name is Penny and I'm your moderator for today's session. In this webinar, we will be featuring Joget Partner, Digile, and we will showcase how digital twin technology together with low-code, no-code can be utilized to deliver the most powerful operational and environmental outcomes so you can better make data-driven decisions when it comes to infrastructure monitoring and maintenance. Before we dive in, let's go over some housekeeping items. First of all, today's session will be recorded, and if you miss out any of our sessions today, no worries as you have the access to the recording later. Moving on, if you have any questions in between the session, do not hesitate to reach out to us via the chat or the Q&A button in the Zoom control panel. We will get to it as many as we can at the end of the webinar. You will also be directed to a feedback form after today's session. And as always, we are happy to hear about your webinar experience. Your opinions matter to us, and we would really appreciate it if you could take a moment and provide your feedback for an improved webinar to attend in the future. Last but not least, we will be giving out 2 Joget Academy vouchers today at the end of the webinar. So stay till the end with us, and who knows, you might be one of the 2 lucky winners. Today, we have the pleasure to have Leonard, who is the Senior Vice President of Global Infrastructure at Digile, and he will be sharing how you can better leverage digital twin technology to digitally manage your asset management and at the same time, fast-track the progress of smart cities development with minimal investment and yet making the best use of your project resources. Leonard, would you like to say hi to the audience?
Yeah, sure, Penny. Thank you. Hello, good days, everyone. This is Diana Bays. I'm happy to be here and thanks. We'll speak with you shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonard. With that, let's take a look at today's agenda. To start with, we will first have a quick introduction of Digile and digital twins, followed by a sharing and a demo walkthrough on how Twinsights, which is a solution developed by Digile on the Joget platform, can pave the way for future of smart infrastructure and smart cities. Last but not least, before we open the floor to the audience for Q&A, we will deep dive into some of the most frequently asked questions about digital twin technology and low-code, no-code. So please stay till the end with us, and as you will not want to miss this session, hear from Diana as he shared how smart cities adds digital intelligence to the urban world to solve public problems and enhance the quality of life for residents. Without further ado, I will now pass it over to Diana to kickstart the webinar. Diana, over to you.
Thanks, Penny. All right. Once again, good mornings, good afternoons, good evenings, depending from where you are. And this is Diana Bays from Digile. Thank you very much to Joget for hosting these sessions. And it's been a pleasure to be here and to share a little bit about the topics and also who we are at Digile. So my topics today will be from digital twins to insights. I would like to share about how Twinsights, which is one of the software platform that we have built with Joget as one of the components. How Twinsight is paving the way for the futures of smart infrastructures and smart cities. Right. So I guess to start first, let me have a couple of minutes to introduce Digile. Digile basically is Digital Agile, acronyms, and we are an IT consulting company focusing on various industry sectors. One of the key sectors means the public infrastructures. That means we're serving our customers who are building up cities, building up mega infrastructures such as highway, railway, power plant, airports, and things like that. Besides these sectors, of course, Digile also involved in providing digitalization services to the others, such as finance services, the finance sectors, the retails, and so on. We also have our services in ERP business, in providing consulting services like Oracle SAP, cloud computing, custom application, and so on. Now, but my focus today in these sessions, I would like to really talk about and share a bit about the Twinsights and how does this Twinsights, the fact is why Twinsights and digital twins for smart cities and smart infrastructures. So without further ado, let's get it started. Now, I'd like to first of all give a little bit of the why factors. What are the reasons? Well, I take this the Malaysia's as the statistics to talk about this to start with. I guess worldwide, depending on where you are, this is already the fact that a lot more citizens, a lot more people are moving and living in city these days. And here that the statistic from Smart City Asia is projecting that there will be 95% of the population in the Malaysias will be living in the cities by 2050. Well, what does it really mean on the other hand is that there will be an increase of the needs infrastructures, within the cities environments, but we will also create challenges for the operators of the cities. One of that being the loss of productivities that could be due to the traffic congestions that might happen. So according to the statistics, there will be a loss of about 1.4 billion due to the time that people will have to spend in traffic. Now, on the other hand, another very fundamental aspect, which is about the water. It's also been projected that the water consumption is projected to be rising 35.6%. That's a lot. So now that means that there is a need to have the city or make the city more smarter. In this case for Malaysia. Now, therefore, whenever we speak about smart cities, it adds the digital intelligence, or like it or not, being more digital, for the better urban living life, and to solve public problems, to achieve a higher quality of life for the citizens. Right now, if we look into this a little bit further, and we start to talk about the infrastructure itself, right? Now, we talk about there will be congestions and things like that. It all rely on the infrastructure. So it will be the existing, or physical infrastructures, right? So let's talk about the 3 layers of smartness to elevate life in the city of the future. That means if we talk about smart cities, smart infrastructures, we look into that from these particular 3 layers that can lay on top of the traditional infrastructures. Number one means the tech base that's to include a network of connectivities, better and wider network connections, fiber optics, and things like that, with a lot more devices and sensors to be tagged on that, so we can gather and gain more data in a more quicker way. Now, on top of that, the second layer will be smarter applications and data analytics capabilities, which that when more data are coming in and the apps has to be more flexible and be more dynamics in understanding the data and so on, in which that it will then go into the third layer in the 3 layers of smartness here. We talk about the adoption and usage of these data that will turn to some form of information and insight to help to serve the peoples and often leading to a better decisions and behavior change. So that basically is the 3 layers that we talk about the smartness for the cities. And we can't deny that in the context of cities, one of the key aspects will be the infrastructures. So the infrastructure, on the other hand, that we look at the statistic just now, we touch on transportation on a physical infrastructure perspective, touch on the water. It didn't mention anything about energies or telco or wastewater, but it all really related one to the others to serve the publics better. So now the end goal is to ensure that more information will be more accurate and serving the people better for the better decisions. So what exactly is this smart infrastructure on the other hand? So smart infrastructures is the result as defined as you can see on the slide, combining the physicals and the digital infrastructures, again, to provide improved information to enable a better decision making for general public. One of the contexts being the digital infrastructures. So the physical infrastructure, we talk about, the standard one that we have within the city. So now the digital infrastructure here is actually consists of, the sensors, IoT things, the network, and some base of the data like the beam, the GIS, and the others data that's coming from the sensors, whatnot, that become the big data, and also machine learning. At the very high level, if you look into this, what it really do is to ensure that there is some form of the twinning impact of the physical infrastructures. So the digital twins as a replica for the physical infrastructures or the physical cities that everybody is living in is what we would like to have and ensure that there is some way to help us to build and to also ensure us that we can leverage these informations at any times of any aspect of the life cycle of the infrastructures, for example. Therefore, we look into this. We are from Digile point of view. We think that we might be able to offer a platform that allowing us to do a couple of things in relation to the digital twin data and insights. So the digital twins data and insight platform. So Twinsight basically is for that purpose. Now, the Twinsight, one hand is helping to gather, to unify different types of the data resources. If you look at the slide right here over to the left, you see there is various types of data resources that could be coming in, to serve and to enables, the data to be unified and gathered together, which I'll talk a bit more later and demonstrate to you. One aspect being the data that is coming from project delivery or constructions. And if we talk about infrastructures, then definitely this will be one of that. So designs, clients, or ERP, or asset maintenance. So these are all sorts of the data resources that will be very relevant. So Twinsights as a digital twin data and insights platform, we would like to really have a ways to gather and unify the data, the various types of data, to be able to store them and also to be able to process them in a way to relate to the relevant business applications. So what I mean by that is think about if you are using, the Twinsight for the projects of constructing or developing, a highway. So you need to have a various type of, stakeholders involved. How do we ensure that the relevant business processes of those in the constructions can be relevant with all the digital twin data and to help them a better decision-making process. Now, that's where we have the Twinsight involved in that. We have to also validate the process, to transform the data one to the other hand, and also be able to offer some form of visualization and analytics that is connected to the digital twin data directly. We really have to think about having this data to be collected as much earlier as possible. Think about any of the infrastructures, we look into the designs of the infrastructures, the stage or the phase of the design, constructions or the asset maintenance. These should not be lived in silo. They have to be lived together within the entire life cycle. So it will be important to ensure that these informations can be passed on from one stage to the another. If you think about serving the public better, we need to have this data accumulated in the different phase. And what sort of the data? Talk about digital twins, talk about the smartness of the city and infrastructures. And Twinsight, in our context, is we look into that into three aspects. Number one, having a common digital representations. Digital twin is pretty much about getting a digital replica for the asset that we're managing and so on. So if we look into today's technologies in terms of helping us to create the digital representations of the asset, it could be coming from various sorts of technologies, from different type of the survey or airborne surveys, land surveys, any types of the GIS mapping data. It can help us to form some form of the digital replica for our infrastructures, be it the infrastructure is during the design stage, or is being constructing, or it's already been constructed. It needs a digital replica that helping the process. And at the same time, of course, throughout the entire life cycle, there are different types of the digital information that will come to play, whether it is a project schedules or maintenance schedules to ensure that the infrastructure can still sustain and serve people better. And it could be some form of the documentations, can be some form of the IoT devices, and so on and so forth. So these digital informations are somehow another aspects that we have to think about and have that also included into the entire software platform, and be able to let people use that together. Another aspect will be the common management. As a software platform, we think about how do we manage the users, manage the project that's created within the systems, and also the data as well. Now, with these three aspects, we have our Twinsights to be able to do some form of applications in smart cities or smart infrastructures in the ways that we look into the smart city or smart infrastructures, whereas the data's come in, there will be IoTs, there will be different portable devices, whatnot. But I would like to touch base about drone, or let's say some airborne type of the data input. If you look in the diagram right here, when we talk about a connected environment, it can be entire cities, it can be buildings or vehicles or grid, whatnot. But if we look at the context of cities, how then the airborne type of the data resources would then be usable as part of the digital twin applications within Twinsight. Let me do a quick demonstrations. So right here, I'm in the Twinsight environments. I'm looking into a specific site, in this case called the KL Cities. Logging into the KL City site, and I'll be able to turn on a specific data. And I'd like to, first of all, to call upon the drone, so-called airborne-based survey data. Hopefully the streaming is doing good for you. Hopefully you can see that throughout the demonstrations. Right now, spinning the entire 3D models at the city scales. As you can see that it has quite a good response in the cities, in the model within the Twinsights, that allow us to actually navigate that much more easier. Now, if I have, on the other hand, projects, hospital project in this case, that I would like to really see where is this project located, how does it look like before it's being built or being constructed, how does it look like when it is being added into this entire city landscape, right? From a construction site, when I can see that, and I would like to further navigate that, going into the buildings to see the detail, because this is actually a BIM model. So we see the BIM model, we can navigate that, we can look into the context of the BIM model, we can get the information of the BIM models, whatnot. What you're looking at right now, as I mentioned, the Twinsight as a platforms, one of the vision is to have the different data resources to be, basically gathered together in a single platform. And watch a very quick moment that you have seen. We have a survey input. We also have a BIM model, the true type of the information that lay together. And with these placing, together, we can actually get some simple process. We can do measurements. We can, measures basically the distance, or we can measure an area to identify, the space and gather some information and understand our site. Now, this pretty much some aspects of Twinsight that is serving infrastructures projects at a very early stage. Now, if you have a scale of cities and you have a different type of information to be added, this will be one of the aspects that is possible, right? There's a numbers of the Joget aspect. In fact, we have included into the entire Twinsights applications. But if you look into the Twinsight perspective and let's say understand at a very high level, I can say the first thing it will help you to manage multiple projects to ensure that this can be the digital hub for all your project or assets and enabling you to have an easy access and manage all these project and assets operations. Ensuring that you could have the right data or right information go to the right people at the right time means it has some form of access control, which is quite important. Now, besides that, of course, we need to provide insight to the different level. Within Twinsight, it is also possible that we have projects, executive summary, that we get the information to be aggregated, accumulated, and it can basically provide some form of analysis to the audience, to the executive people, in a ways to provide them the insight, trackings, the progress, and alerts if there's any other problematic projects as early as possible. And more importantly, there's no need for any form of the manual reportings anymore. Well, it will be important, and I mentioned before in the presentation just now, that we need to have a connected process because the different stakeholders are involved. We're really grateful to have Joget in this case to pretty much establishing the Twinsight using Joget as the workflow engines. As a local platform, it has been very dynamic and it has been very handy for us. And because really we need to have tools that help us to quickly deploy and come up with the deliverables that our customer needs, to tune, to adjust the software workflow processes in the software, so that whenever the software is needed for the different type of project, it can be then used. Of course, then with that, it ensures some consistency and transparency of in terms of information sharing. Of course, then there are a lot of flexibility within the Joget that allow us to custom a report. And we do that and use that a lot. As part of the digital replica for asset, I mentioned and demonstrated to you just now, I have the BIM model example and drone survey data, aerial survey data. We have GIS that can also be included. If you have Gantt chart, time-based information that can be then also added together. And they help you to also get the information displayed in terms of your asset infrastructures, whatnot. And it's more important also to have some form of the operational insights for the project health, operation health, asset health, in the ways to have the information be very specific on the topics, whether it's on the projects that we talk about the progress, the risks, and so on, or on the asset we talk about the maintenance relevance activities. And of course, this has to be custom dashboard in a way. Now, what is seen here has a lot of the backend that's interacted with Joget. The data that was collected from process are directly translate into our dashboard so we can provide a more quicker insight to our users. We do also pretty much leverage Joget in terms of coming out with our mobile app of Twinsight that is supporting some processes and enable our users, regardless they are using the iOS or the Android platform, they can actually have a unified data now with the web and mobile access to actually serve them better in terms of managing their infrastructures, whether it's during the project's time or whether it's during their city's management. Now, allow me to go a little bit further to show you how the Twinsight looks like in, explaining on what I have actually talked about just now. Now, first, I like to look into, this case, let me just favorite on these projects and go to these specific projects. Again, I turn on the layer, but this time around, I actually have a BIM model. As you can see right here, I have a BIM models of substations and can easily navigate. So you've seen before BIM models or a survey model. And if I have this navigated and I like to somehow perform some, review, I'll be able to then mark the location very easily. And From a Joget perspective, you're seeing that I'm just marking, and here you go, that I have a web form stream across, and we leverage Joget for this perspective. You have, of course, a form, then you can have this customized accordingly, and the dedicated list, data list for that purpose. So it's integrated directly, and we have that used in Twinsights, and making sure that our users can actually get not only seeing, not only visualizing their data, but they can also do some form of the business applications. So the yellows parcels they're looking at right now is land use. Clicking on that, you got the information as well. I mentioned just now about Gantt chart, project plan, asset maintenance plan that can be possible to bring into the Twinsights, where we can then interrogate further, and the data could come from P6 or it's coming from Microsoft projects. Bring this data in quite easily within our platform. You see also that, for instance, now if I go to, let's say we go to another project, and let's go to a building project this time. So we go to the building projects, and let's look into the dashboard. I think I show a little bit of the dashboard during the presentation in the slide. Here you go, that you can have the dashboard being specific for your work. And once you have that, I select any of these items, and let's go into, let's say, another topics right here. I can see the various type of the statistics being presented, whereby the data are coming actually from Joget. If I click on this particular one to explore what are the close report right here, and here that you can observe that it's pretty much a data list that is retrieving from Joget, and I can then click into this and view more specific contents, in which right here, more important for our users also about the audit trail, the action trails of what happened, and when, and who did that, and so on. So very simple, very handy for users, and it be very dynamic for our user to actually use these informations. And of course, then the users has various types of processes, so it can be then listed accordingly. In this case, rigs register, or it is about requesting informations. You can then you do this very easily, the filters, and this can be all very handy to prepare in the Joget. And once you click that, you can see the whole story of the process much more easier. So I'm showing you this part, which is more relevant in the context of Joget, the look and feel, but you are seeing the whole thing of, if you have ever experienced with Joget, you're seeing the whole things here, the Joget components being a part of our software platform. You're seeing the dashboard that show, the colorful display, attractive in a way, but the data that is going into that, it is really based on all these processes. The various type of users that come in here, they do their part of work, and the engine that is serving them is actually Joget, where they trigger the workflow. When it's done, the data then will be automatically being sucked into the dashboard, provide the project insights. And there are much more functionality, which I would love to really show you. You can see right here, there are much more tools available, much more processes, and each of these different processes are different one to the others. There are different aspects as well that has been all built as a software that is serving our customer in helping them to basically have their work, have their city more smarter in a way, whenever all the infrastructures can then have a way or another to gather this information digitally. How do we start? How do we go about that? Now, we basically summarize that in some form of the 4 steps. How do we embark the digital deployments? Now, I guess being a consulting company, of course, it's just not about talking about technical part of the software, but we'd like to also share a little bit about how can you start. Now, number one, we humbly suggest that we should create a focused digital strategies and organizations. That means we should already set and define the performance goals, and you will define already the digital tools that will help to achieve this. Of course, then you will have communities, you will deploy leaders to take responsibilities to drive the results. And also you will analyze your existing environments whenever you want to start a new tools or inject a new tool into your existing environments. You will definitely also identify gaps and set the timeline to make sure that we can achieve accordingly. Once you have defined framework, then the second step really is about getting started, right? So into the so-called test lab, for example. So we identify a dedicated use cases, launch the tools as a pilot during the projects. Of course, before we do that, we define the key performance indications. We then measure that throughout the process and trying to collect the lesson learned and things like that. Now, it will be only possible when we started the step number 2 to let data start flowing into the system. Then we will see how much is the deployments making meaningful for us in a way. Now, of course, then after that, when we have the data will lead the way. That means we can revise our fundamental business processes to support the digital solutions, or we can actually simplify the process for deploying, for piloting or the digital solutions. And one that has been set up more firmly, then we have basically have a concrete platform of foundations. It's then come to the time for us to increase our investments into the digital solution. We can then clones our experience and deploy that for the different projects or engage investment partners and things like that. And that will help us to move on. And I think with that, hopefully for the couple of minutes that I've been sharing about Twinsights, from the digital twins, and you can see the various of the digital twins components or data resources that I've been showing you from BIM, from drone data, the GIS, in the different types of infrastructures within the Twinsight environment itself. And we believe that it will pave the way actually for a smarter infrastructure of city in the context that we need to add on more data resources, more edge, more endpoint, right? So we have more IoT data component that have to come in and provide more insights about, the infrastructures enriched in a way to understand the health of the infrastructure itself. It all have to be based on some form of foundation. It have to be having a good foundations of data resources, and the data resources have to sit onto a platform that is more dynamic. And believe that Twinsight today's with the power of Joget added together, it will really help us to achieve and really help us to move from digital twins to insights. We believe Twinsight can give you a way to path for future smart infrastructure and smart cities. All right, that's all that I have for you today. I will pass over the floor to Penny. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Leonard, for the very insightful walkthrough and the sharing on Twinsight solution. So while I'm putting up my screen, ladies and gentlemen, now let's move on to our most awaited panel session. We are going to delve into some of the FAQs and hear from Leonard on his insights on Twinsight's digital twin technology. So the first question, based on the sharing and demo that Leonard shared with us earlier, we know that Twinsight's digital twin technology is a tool that not only paved the way for the future of smart cities, but it also takes asset management to a whole new level with the use of say digital intelligence to solve public problems. And now you might be wondering, how does this digital twin really make a difference in the real world in terms of ESG? So Leonard, can you tell us more about how Twinsights helps cities to become greener, more inclusive, and better governed?
Sure, Penny. Thanks for the questions. And humbly, I think that with Twinsights being the digital twins data and insights platform, I believe that it actually helps to achieve standardizations for better governance, which is touching on the G of ESG, for your infrastructures. And there is a lot more that we can do with digital twin in a nutshell. That, for example, some form of a simulations before constructions can happen with a platform like a digital twins, and some form of the simulation in this process, whether it's from the design or construction phase, that actually helps because it all happens digitally, meaning there is no physical waste that could happen. That I think in a way does implicitly help the sustainabilities as well and be more green. Of course, then together with this, it helps the users to plan and execute better for the asset to unify all these informations within a single information hub.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. But is there any real world examples that twin sites have been successfully used, say, to improve urban infrastructure and to enhance the quality of life for the residents?
Yeah, sure. In fact, Twinsight today has already deployed for our projects serving our customers on the ground, the various types of projects happenings. But of course, these are important projects for to serve people. For example, there are over thousand hundred, the thousands over kilometer long highway projects that is using Twinsight serving, you know, different type of the stakeholders and helping them to get connected and helping them to assess and ensuring the right information can really reach to the right people at the right time. At the same time, also establish various business processes that they need during their project periods, using Joget in this case, together with Twinsight. Now, that will be a real world examples, which is ongoing and, serving the different business processes, which is needing for better managing the project and asset at the same time.
Okay. When we talk about asset management, say in terms of digital infrastructure, what are the key trends that you see is currently gaining traction that you would like to share with the audience today?
Yeah, definitely. Penny, I think the digital twins will be one of the key trends now. A lot of momentums going into digital twins or having the digital twin platform to serve infrastructures, to serve assets, etc., the entire life cycles. And that's actually how we feel Twinsight is serving for this purpose. So I believe there are more trends out there, but in terms of specifically in relations to the topic, I think digital twin will be the key trend.
Earlier on, in the demo earlier, we talked about how the various business processes in twin sites are actually being built on Joget. So can you share with us how Joget helps in the solution development?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think Joget is a very powerful local platform, as everybody knows about that. But with that, really, it helped us to speed up our deployments, our implementations timeline, right, or period. There's lots of strengths, and I guess I can touch on a few of them. So one of the strengths, of course, Joget has a very good tools and a very dynamics to allowing the developers to create forms or create workflow. I think more powerful is that you can extend the Joget engine itself with the plugin. You can develop your own plugin to add into the Joget engines to serve a more complex scenario. And of course, then the PWA support on that also very important. Otherwise, the job can be more complex for developers. We actually with Joget, I would say that it will be much more easier for us to serve customer in a way to achieve the client requirements. But of course, I should also mention here and not forget things that Joget as a principal really give us a very good support, and I think that is very important and very thankful for that. And that's very excellent service from Joget.
On behalf of the Joget team, thank you very much for all the kind words, Jonah.
Thanks.
So, when we said user requirement can be achieved much easier with Joget, right? I believe that in most cases, user requirements are all very unique by itself, where customizations are often required to cater to all these specific needs. So can you shed light on how low code, no code can impact scalability in smart city digital twin projects?
Yeah, definitely. Because as a local no-code platform, meaning that there's a lot of things that has already been prepared in a very good framework, and it helps us to actually get easier to get things done for our customer. That in a way means it helps us to advertise our implementation pace. At the same time, we are not compromising the needs of localizing some of the business processes or standardization that is needed for the clients, right? So the clients, as you can, as you can imagine, that different organizations they will have slightly different business processes or slightly different workflows or slightly different forms and things like that. And how can you then make it quick so that you can basically clock link the whole thing and deliver that together. Of course, we already established some good connectivity between at the foundation level for Twinsights. So I think that way, whenever we need to tweak the user workflow, whatnot, with a local platform like Joget, it becomes easier and it becomes more flexible.
Okay. And with that, we have finally come to the final stretch of our panel session. And this is the real highlight. So everyone, please lend me our ears, and we are about to share something really important. So Diana, what are the key takeaways that you think one should take from this conversation today?
Well, I could be biased, but I would like to say Twinsights.
Mm-hmm.
I think Twinsights is basically hitting the needs of these topics. Certainly, as a software products evolve, of course, it evolve along with the component like Joget. There's a lot of things that is possible because Twinsight obviously can serve the purpose to managing your infrastructures and cities. Certainly with Twinsight, we can actually show more the advancements of Joget as a local platform to help you to advertise or getting faster for your digital journey.
Okay, and that wraps up our panel session. Huge thanks to Leonard for sharing your valuable insights on how digital twin technology and local no-code can work wonders. Thank you very much for sharing how city planners, engineers, and policymakers everyone here today with us can now better set up their game in asset management using Twinsights, doing more with less, and of course, making the most of their project resources. Thanks again, Leonard.
My pleasure. Thanks, man.
And with that, we are now opening the floor to our audience, and let's see what are the questions that the audience has for us. We got some questions here. Okay, so the number one, would you elaborate more on how you integrate Joget in your solution, Twinsights, for example, single sign-on SSO?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Penny, and thanks for the questions, Ahmad Kato. Now, obviously, hopefully I pronounce your name correctly. All right. So hopefully, now the fact is that the SSO being one of the aspect and authentications and get software login correctly. Yes, we do basically establish the necessary integration frameworks to achieve this that enable us to have a login to Joget whenever it is required and managing the sessions and things like that. I would say that is one of the fundamental one that talking about integrating with Joget. There is much more. And in my demonstration just now, you see that the entire look and feel are basically blending into the platform. The data leads, the forms, and the backend workflow are all already integrated as one. And of course, besides that, what I have demonstrated today is pretty much over to the web. What we are not seeing here is the mobile apps, whereby the mobile apps of Twinsights is also streaming across the necessary form processes to ensure that our users who can also use the mobile apps to actually, conduct their work, right? So without having them to, basically adopting a different technologies or maybe using a web browsers to access the system or whatnot. No, actually we have a mobile app that already integrated with Joget on that sense. So with that also, we will call the necessary data lists or recall the forms to actually that's needed for the processes. I hope at a high level here, Ahmed, that answer your questions.
Okay, thank you for the answer. So moving on to the next question. How does the use of digital twins impact building design and construction?
All right, sure. Yeah, so I mean, the digital twins, pretty much as mentioned just now, it's being a digital replica, that can serve the um, the entire asset life cycle. Now, the digital twins fundamentally will basically require some form of the digital representations. Um, it will serve the entire life cycle in a way to make sure that all the informations that is needed throughout the entire life cycle can be then flowing from one stage to the another stage, from design to construction, for constructions to handovers to asset maintenance and things like that. It becomes a very important aspect. It's not just about the beautiful or the attractive 3D model, but it's also about getting the data to continue sustaining the 3D models within the platform itself so that it can serve the necessary workflow throughout the entire life cycle.
Okay, we got the next question. How are construction businesses using digital twin technology?
Right. The constructions is one of the stage within the entire asset life cycle. Of course, it been already some levels of use of digital twins in the context of constructions. One of the aspects being the having the construction progress that can then be virtually served throughout the entire construction period. And one other example, I guess, what I have demonstrated just now in forms of constructions where we have the digital replica of the projects that can be then used throughout the period. At the same time, all the construction processes, whether it is non-conformal report, requests for inspections, or incident reportings and things like that can be then directly integrated into the digital twins models. It helps to, basically connect all the information together and one that is completed throughout the entire constructions at the same pace of the same, the same sets of information will then be able to move forward and use on the next stage, which is the asset maintenance. So I think that will be how it actually impact the construction. If it's not, what will happen is that imagines that everything are really used in a more in a different way in which that all the informations are perhaps managed in the different systems or stored in a different way, and without having them to be connected together. If that happens throughout the construction stage, what it means that maybe when it comes to the time to hand over to asset maintenance, it will be more time need to be spent in terms of gathering this information and making sure the data model can be established before we can then use in the constructions. Sorry, in the asset maintenance.
Okay, thank you for the answer. And moving on, here's another question. Can digital twins support innovation in my business?
Well, I think yes, because in a way, depending on where is your business, but digital twin essentially is not from the infrastructure sector, for example. The other sectors like manufacturing, so on, they are as some form of digital twin adopted already. I'm sure that there were a way for for you in your business to leverage digital twins. Of course, whenever it touch on some of the physical aspect, whereby the digital aspect can help to enhance the whole operation to make things better. There are some way on that another that actually can adopt digital twins. One of the fundamental beings that when there's a need of having some form of the virtual representations, you know, for example, if you're manufacturing the products, then of course that product being the physical items that we would like to have a digital replica for that. So that can be also one aspect of getting the process connected and having that physical item being digital throughout the process as well. I think that will be one example. But of course, it is not just the infrastructure sector alone. It is actually using the digital twin.
Thank you for the answer. The next question, can you share with us how do digital twins use BIM, which stands for Building Information Modeling, I suppose?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I think the BIM and the digital twins are related one to the another's. So obviously there's a lot of needs in it's pretty much a continuous connections from BIM where people who already embarked in BIM and BIM being the process to get things done, especially throughout the design phase, to get things done more smoother and more efficient. And then the outcome of the BIM then can be then directly adopted to the digital twin and continue from there to serve the entire asset operation and asset life cycle.
All right. Seems that we are running out of time. I'm going to take just one more question. Okay, so here we have it. What is the difference between digital twins and BIM?
Well, BIM fundamentally is building informations modeling that is actually a process to ensure that there is more efficient way in, having the digital twins, having the design process to be more efficient in the way, having increase of the collaboration throughout the process. And it's basically a leverage, or I would say it's basically a model-based process that you will see a 3D model that will be adopted in the whole BIM process. Now, digital twins, on the other hand, perhaps it has actually extended that. It does have the 3D replica, or let's say the 3D representative, but it can be a 3D, it can be a 2D, can be some form of the digital replica. It's not necessarily a confirm that it must be a 3D, but it expanded and it get a more connected data besides onto the 3D component or the graphical component, but also the other component like the digital data from assets or digital data from IoTs and things like that, and then serve the business operations, giving more insight. So I think that will be a fundamental difference of the two.
Thank you very much for the answer. With that, seems that we have now come to the end of the webinar. And before we go, as usual, we have plenty of Joget resources where you can make use of, such as the step-by-step tutorial on the Joget knowledge base. And you can also enroll in our Joget Academy for short courses, watch the Joget DX video tutorials, and download readme apps and plugins from the Joget Marketplace to use it as it is or customize it to suit your business needs. With that, let's see who are the two lucky winners of the Joget Academy voucher. Diona, can you help me to pick one lucky winner from our audience?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll pick Ahmad Carter.
All right, congratulations, Ahmad Kato. And I will pick another one. Okay, congratulations, Abdali Mubarak. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. So congratulations to the both of you. We will reach out to the winners of our email and get those vouchers to you guys. So please keep an eye on your inbox, and if you do not see any, don't forget to check your spam folder. And with that, we have now come to the end of the session. Once again, thank you very much, Diona, for joining us today, and again for your truly enlightening sharing on digital twin technology and low-code, no-code. Not to forget about Twinsights solution. Also, the audience today for staying till the very end with us, we really appreciate it. One last thing before we end the session, don't forget to fill up the feedback form directed to you after the webinar, as we would love to hear from you about your webinar experience. And with that, we will see you again in the next webinar. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank everyone. Bye bye.